it sounds kind of weird, but I just felt like singing up here seems to help me figure out stuff before, so...
Yeah, I would have just, come here first. If you would have picked up your phone or answered my text messages. Instead, I had to get on a plane and drive around town looking for you like an idiot.
Ah, man, yeah, well,
You
that's what
had
happens.
4 months. I hated you for what you did to me at that train station.
Just trying to help you.
I hated you.
Finn, you're an idiot. Right. Let me regroup for a second. Violence, anger, rage, destruction, testosterone, manly stuff, kicking someone, pushing someone, shoving someone. Okay, we're back. Right. NYG for Life did a video and he talked about John Cena and why people hate John Cena or why people haven't warmed to him. And he said many things in that video. And one of the beliefs that I have as to why people, if you want to say, hate him or think he's phony or haven't warmed to him, or why he hasn't had this overwhelming popularity with the entire audience, in my opinion, one of the many reasons why this has happened over the years is because of one thing, and it's down to one thing. And it's one thing that people kind of touch on but don't really touch on. And they kind of say it but they don't go into detail with it enough. And I'm going to say it, and I believe that one of the many reasons why Cena hasn't reached that and why there's a big segment of the audience that look at him a certain way is because of John Cena's selling. Now, ponder on that for a few seconds while I get my Dragonfly tea. Just think about what I really mean by that, and I'm going to come back to you. Give me a few seconds, alright? Oh, it's gorgeous stuff. Oh, I tell you what, that is beautiful in the morning, especially if you've had a hangover. Not that I've got one. So, John Cena's selling. I believe that John Cena's selling is a big part of the reason why things are the way they are with him. Now, a lot of people make this comment about John Cena, and it somewhat links to it. A lot of people say the whole, John Cena thinks he's Superman. The Superman comeback, the Superman comeback. And NYG for Life does have a point. A lot of people do that Superman heroic comeback. But the thing with John Cena selling and the Superman comeback and linking all three into a pretty little package, as they like to say, here's my thing. John Cena's selling is very hit and miss. I'm not just talking about when he gets hit and going like that, or when they get hit and they go ow, but his long-term selling in a match, he's selling outside of the match, he's selling in angles. All of that, I think, is a big reason why he, I'll give you an example. WrestleMania 27 last year. I'll never forget watching it. And one of the stories about that was that this has been a difficult couple of months for John Cena. He'd lost his belt. The Nexus happened then, and we'll get onto that because that's another point I want to make as well. The Nexus came, he was enslaved by them, he was working for them for God knows how long. He lost his job, he came back. The Miz is the champion, The Rock is now come into the mix. All of these things have happened, but John Cena can put that all right by winning the WWE title on the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania. And this isn't the physical selling that I'm getting into, this is the other kind of selling that I'm getting into. So, the WrestleMania match happens. Miz doesn't win, Cena doesn't win in that god-awful abortion of a match. Rock comes out and costs him the belt. Now the next night, you're supposed to sell the fact that you've had this difficult couple of months, that you've been at WrestleMania, the biggest show of them all, you've lost to The Miz and someone else has cost that. Someone else is the reason why that hasn't happened. That has happened. You're not supposed to be coming out and hopping and skipping and twirling a baton and grinning like an idiot like nothing ever happened. You're supposed to be coming out with piss and vinegar, storming out, selling the fact that I've just been cost a title match. So, and that's one of the things. There's that kind of selling. The reason why I picked up on that is because when I was young, and it was a little known fact, I actually went to drama school, and the term selling was used there. And I remember my drama teacher often telling me that when you have to sell something, it makes the storyline a lot more believable. It makes everything around you a lot more believable, and it really can suck people in, and it can make people sympathize with you and empathize with you. And Cena is not very good at doing that. When he comes out after he loses at WrestleMania and he's making these poo-poo jokes and these gay jokes, instead of being like, I'm pissed off, I've lost, Rock's cost me the belt, Rock has said some stuff about me, I also want to finish off the Miz and I want my belt. But you know what I mean? He should be a lot more worked up, a lot more angry about that. The next thing is, and I remember this too, a friend of mine, he wanted to watch SummerSlam 2010 with me a while ago. He watches it occasionally, and we watched SummerSlam 2010. This was at the height of the Nexus stable, and they're building Nexus up as this threat to the company, these new young guys that have come up and run roughshod around the company that could bring the company to its knees, and it's up to Team WWE to save them. There's one point of that match that I want to point out that my friend just threw his hands in the air about and thought this was ridiculous. So Nexus are, pardon me, so the match progresses, and there's a point in the match where they pull the mats up from outside of the ring, and there's this concrete flooring. And Cena is picked up by Nexus and dropped on his head on this concrete. Now, in real life, if I pick you up, or you pick me up, any way you want to do it, and drop me on my head on concrete really hard with excessive force, I'm not going to be jumping up 2 minutes later and destroying everybody. In real fights, you do have an adrenaline surge, but you're going to be pretty knocked silly. You're going to kind of be like that, and you're trying to fight back. You're going to be trying to kind of get that, and trying to pull it out from your guts, and it's all heart. And again, Cena's selling comes into question there. He just springs right back up like he's never been hurt at all, and it completely kills their momentum. And then, they end up losing anyways, but it kills their momentum. And again, it just really, really hurts him and also the people that he's working with in a lot of ways. And I've been in many occasions when I've had people who are not necessarily wrestling fans, and I've been out. There was a time we went out to a bar not far from here, sports bar. Raw was on. It was like an early evening. Raw was on, and people were watching it, and some of the people that I was with were watching it. And there was a match they watched, and Cena got hit, and then he was supposed to sell this move, and he kind of springs back up, and the people with me just were like, ha ha ha, this guy looks ridiculous. Oh my god, at least make it look like it hurt John. That's what people were saying with me. And these are people who are not necessarily wrestling fans. And I find, more so than his 5 moves of doom and his cartoonish, voices and his poo jokes and his gay jokes, which I find hilarious for a completely other reason, and I'll go into another time. All of those ridiculous things he does, looking like the Cocoa Pops monkey, dressing like the Cocoa Pops monkey. All of those things aside, one of the things I've noticed with people is when he starts selling, they just can't buy into it. When you can't make something look like it hurts, and you kind of do it in a very funny way, or you just spring back up, people just can't suspend their disbelief. And I find that's one of the things about being a good worker is. Being a good worker is knowing how to manipulate an audience and knowing how to make me 15,000 people in an arena, people watching at home, making them, this is a show, but for those few minutes, suspending their disbelief. And when Cena sells, I find it very, very hard to do that. And there are countless times where I've seen that. And I think, and this is another thing that my drama teacher told me, that in their opinion, selling can lead to future success, i.e. making more money, giving you more roles, getting people behind you more. Selling can draw money, and if you want to apply that to professional wrestling, some of the best wrestlers in the world and some of the stars of pro wrestling were guys that knew how to sell, not just in a physical sense, but also in a storyline sense. And think back to one person in particular that we all miss right now, and God rest his soul, but Macho Man Randy Savage was fantastic at it. If If you go back and you watch a Randy Savage match, you watch him in a storyline, look at how he sells things in his demeanour. You genuinely could sympathise with him and empathise with him, and then get behind him and want to see him make that comeback and want to see him get Ric Flair for what he did and make him see, want him to get Razor Ramon for what he did. And I'm mentioning those two names because I specifically remember as a child when Randy Savage lost the belt to Ric Flair, and Flair came out first and then Savage came out next, and Razor Ramon attacked him and injured his knee, and the entire story of the match was that Savage had been injured, and it was not done in this cartoonish, ridiculous way where he makes this Superman comeback and springs up. It was very believable and it worked, and I remember as a kid feeling so upset that Randy lost. And the best part about that is right after that match had happened and he's limping and he's struggling and his face is grimacing in pain, he's in absolute agony, and you would believe it because it's believable. The next night he comes out on the show, and unlike Cena, who had come out, ha, 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 Savage is holding and grimacing and holding his knee and just making it look like Flair really did a number on him. And it worked. Shawn Michaels is another great example. Shawn Michaels, arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. Watch some of his matches, and a lot of people are going to go on about the fancy moves and all of that, but watch how he sold for guys. Watch how he sold in storylines for people. When he wanted the rematch with Undertaker, look how he sold it in his demeanour. Like he was a crack addict looking for his next fix. I've got to have this match with The Undertaker. It's life or death. Cena couldn't do that, but Shawn could. And when Shawn came out, he looked like a man possessed when he interrupted Taker's matches. Look at his match at Survivor Series 2003, how he physically sells for the people in the ring. And look at how effective he was, and I think that's one of the reasons why people got behind Shawn Michaels as much as they did in his career. So I'm going to wrap it up, let it kind of fester, think about what I've just said, write some things down. Also remember, and I'll just, before I forget this, also in his face, how he sells things. There's that hilarious picture of him, I think it was when they did the Zack Ryder's in the hospital thing, and he doesn't know the balance of overselling and underselling. He hasn't got that happy medium, and I can say that because I do know about these things more so than they realise. But he's like, Zack Ryder's in the hospital by Kane, and he's like, and it just kind of is like ridiculous. And I know the people I was with there just laughed at this. Fuck this, I'm not watching this, let's watch something else. Anyways, I'm going to stop, I'm going to finish my tea, finish watching Glee, and you write some comments, let me know what you think. I'm going to be doing another MMA video very soon. I want to talk about Nick Diaz and Alistair Overeem. I've got a lot to say about that. I want to talk about St. Pierre and Condit, that's another one I want to talk about. But I'm going to wrap up, write some comments, let me know what you think, and I hopefully will be back very soon. Take care, and I'm getting back to Glee. See ya.